Hello, and welcome to the 48th episode of the Midlife Pilot Podcast, a show where we talk all things aviation for those who are starting their aviation journey in their midlife. This podcast is all about sharing our experiences and the greater community's experiences of midlifers. So whether you're a student pilot, a seasoned veteran, or an enthusiast who maybe wants to learn, we're glad you're with us. My name is Ben. I'm an instrument-rated pilot here in Atlanta. Started flying at the age of 48, and I'm currently working on my commercial rating, which is starting to move forward a little bit. With me, as always, we have Brian in Music Row in Nashville. Hey, Brian.
Yes, I'm exactly in the heart of Music Row on the far west side of Nashville.
It's Music Row to me, Brian.
Yeah, no, but hey, Ben and everybody, I'm super glad to be here tonight, and I'm super excited about these guests. Honestly, I mean, look, we had Josh Flowers on last week, and you would think that that'd be kind of a big deal, but no, this is a big deal.
Absolutely, and let's give a quick shout out to Ted, our sport pilot extraordinaire out of Portland, Oregon. Hey, Ted.
Hey.
Thanks for being here with us. And we're going to get right into our main topic tonight because we have a limited time with these two special people here with us tonight, Scott and Shelley Weckler, who are air traffic controllers and pilots and real estate agents in the Nashville area. And they are in the BNA Tower or up-down facility. So welcome, guys. We're really glad you're with us.
Thanks. We're happy to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Could you start out telling us a little, give us a brief bio, both of your backgrounds, your pilots and air traffic controllers? We'd love to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we met flying in San Diego a long time ago. I don't remember the year. It was probably like 06, 07-ish. And I was starting at the flight school, and he was already almost finished as a CFI. And so we kind of started flying together there. And then we started dating after that and kind of moved all around. Both of us were flying. He'll tell you about his flying career, but I did flight instructing and did some charter work. And then ended up getting hired on with the FAA in 2015. When they hired you on, they basically send you out to Oklahoma, went out there, they transferred us to the Boston area. And then from there, we eventually got transferred back to Nashville, which is where I'm from. But yeah, that pretty much sums up our aviation career.
Yeah, we moved to Florida from San Diego in 2009 for chasing some airline jobs. I worked for a cargo company, a Part 135 cargo company called Flight Express. They no longer are in existence. They're AirNet now. So I did 135 cargo for a while. Then I switched over to Part 135 passenger carrying, similar to Cape Air. We flew 402s basically back and forth through the Bahamas and South Florida and a little bit of the South United States. I was their chief pilot for 3 years, director of operations, and then Shelley and I decided to jump over to the dark side of the FAA and switch roles. And so we both got hired 2014, 2015. They shipped us up to Boston. I was at Boston Center for 4 years. She was at the executive tower there. And then we finally got transferred back to Nashville in 2018, where her family's from. So we've been here since then.
Back when we were trying to kind of pursue the airline career, it's shocking what they were paying back then. It was basically nothing. It was like $25,000 a year to right seat in a CRJ.
Some of them were, some that I was looking at during that time frame were $16,000 to $20,000 a year.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all of that is better than what we do as midlife pilots, because what we do, a friend of mine who is an Airbus driver for a major airline, he said, Brian, what you do is recreational gas burning. So, so as much as it was maybe ill-advised for you to be, escaping low-paying pilot jobs, there's nothing more ill-advised than what we're all doing.
Exactly. And what my hope is when I get my commercial and I retire, I just want to fly somebody else's airplane and not incur the expenses. That's going to be a pay raise by itself. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you guys are doing it right. I think it's different doing it when you have to do it versus when you get to do it and when you want to do it. It's completely different. I'm sure you guys know that.
It's a great point. Brian, why don't you kick us off with you how you met these folks and what you got in mind?
Well, I met Scott. He said, I have a number for you to copy. And No,
He gives out his number a lot. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah. we had someone.
Wait a minute, is that on frequency or not on frequency? That's what I want to know.
So basically what happened was, Scott is pretty, both of you guys are pretty visible in this area and in a great way. I really appreciate your advocacy and the level of engagement that you guys, from everything from the 99s to, going around and talking about the Super Charlie and getting everybody up to speed or whatever. You guys are really special people to have here and appreciate that. I didn't really understand how, great you were until I messaged Scott, and he's actually messaged me back. It was sort of like, it's like when you it's like you email like a musician you like or something, all right, and they get back to you. It's like, oh my God, okay, what do I say? But Scott, you were so gracious and helpful, and so I really appreciate that. But yeah, so for me, it's been, I got my license in 2021. I'm sorry, certificate. I got my certificate in 2021, and it's been, an interesting challenge learning how to fly at John Toon untowered, and then the tower opened the last 3 weeks of my training and check ride. So that was a strange thing to be at the same airport, but now it's towered, and then there was also the idea that it's towered, but they don't have a radar. So then, as a young, not young, but an older new pilot, I don't even really understand fully what the implications of that are, right? From a functional standpoint, I'm still trying to figure out if a Phenom is a fast plane or like some home built job. Like, I don't know what's going on, Yeah. And so that was an interesting place to come up. And then adjacent to, the Nashville class Charlie airspace, in the beginning, it's a very, scary kind of thing for new pilots, but you guys have always been so helpful and so good. And I know that's important to you. Maybe I'll give you a chance to speak to it, but you, like other controllers, I think all have this sort of a similar mindset. Maybe not all, many other controllers, that you're in the customer service business, right? Maybe you can speak a little bit to how your mindset is.
Yeah, certainly not all. I will say, because it's a stressful job, you sometimes forget that we are there as servants of taxpayers. Without you guys flying and without taxpayers paying taxes, we don't have a job. So we are there for you guys, and we are there to provide a good customer service. Now, when it comes to safety issues and stress, obviously that tends to go out the window first in order to get our mission accomplished, which is to ensure safety. That tends to go out the window a lot faster with certain people versus others. But no, I think it's a really important point that's what we're there for. And that's why Shelley and I go around quite a bit and are very out there with the aviation community, just so we can learn from you guys just as much as you'll learn from us.
It's much easier for us to talk about this stuff, obviously, when we're, not working and we have time to really answer questions and just, kind of get some feedback too on our end of what can we do better for the flying community. Is really important to us as well to take that back to our facility.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask a really quick question. I'm sorry, Brian. I know you're ready to go, but when they were designing the Super Charlie, the FAA was looking at it. Do they look at input from the local controllers as well as airlines? Who are they gathering information from to build this thing out?
And maybe we should give a little context about just the fact that this just happened here, right? We just had a major change in the airspace in Nashville.
Right. Yeah. So we've been collecting data for quite some time on the issues with our old class Charlie. Our old class Charlie was deficient in many areas. The whole point of protected airspace is to ensure participating aircraft are kept away from non-participating aircraft. We want non-participating aircraft to be able to do what they want to do, but we also have to ensure that they are protected, and so are the participating aircraft are protected equally. So So our airspace did not allow for that to happen. I have slides in our presentations that we've done that show aircraft on glide slope coming into Nashville would actually go into the Class Charlie at 10 miles, come back out on glide slope, and not really be in protected airspace until about a 4 or 5 mile final. That means that an aircraft a non-participating aircraft, VFR, not talking to ATC, could be circling on glide path at the final approach fix, and no aircraft could get in Nashville. You could shut down Nashville. And same thing with the north and south side. So that happened routinely. There's more issues all around the airspace, but that was the biggest problem that we faced. We had been trying to change that for years and years and years. So collecting data.
We started logging it. I don't remember how long we logged it, but we sent hundreds and hundreds of incidents to the FAA for them to evaluate the data, just as part of in the infancy stage of them sort of getting ready to do the roundtables to redesign the airspace. That was something that they sent to them, so they could just evaluate all of that data and making those decisions. They don't make them lightly, that's for sure.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's also one of the first things that came to my mind when I understood that these changes were coming. That's now going to require a lot more people to talk to you, which is good. But I just thought, wow, it seems like they're at capacity, right? So how does it make sense? But I reasoned this kind of on my own, and it ended up seeming like it might be true, which is it's actually less work to do that, to communicate with that many more people, as opposed to the amount of communication it takes to work around people that are not talking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's 100% correct. I'll say this. We don't have a staffing issue at Nashville. We're not allowed to say that. What we do have is a volume issue at times, because we don't have controllers to handle the volume that we have. So it's not a staffing issue.
Thank you.
But at any rate, you're 100% correct. That was our concern too, is when we expand the Class Charlie, you now call us right off John Tune, and you're pretty immediate. You need some service, otherwise you're going to have to stay low and go west. And are you going to be able to get that? There was a lot of concern from the general aviation pilots, and it was valid. We didn't know. We don't have abundance of staffing to open up additional positions to handle a bunch more people calling us. However, what we've found so far is we have decreased the amount of safety alerts and safety events that I've seen so much close to the airport, where it's most crucial, because you have the jets that are lining up on final. They're the closest they're going to get together. They're low. There's not a lot of outs because they're all descending. You can't really climb them back up. So playing that guessing game of, what are you going to do when you're skirting the Class Charlie on a 6 mile final and I've got 15 aircraft lined up on final? Do I break them all out? That kind of went away. So it allowed us to take safety event time and now allocate it more towards more people calling us, which has just increased safety. And I don't know, maybe you can tell me, Brian, if you've experienced any issues getting services around Nashville since we expanded the Class Charlie.
Well, first, I just want to say that the Nashville controllers are the best controllers in the world, and I've never had any. I've never had any issue. If you're familiar with my tail number, just no, but it's been great, and in fact, I've noticed right away the challenge before, even when you were trying to do the right thing, is you just couldn't get on, and I think that the challenge is, at least for me, I don't like to fly low around, like when I'm taking off either especially to the north, but either way at John Tune, I don't like to be low. There's not a lot of good places to go.
Right.
And so I'm looking to move this along, but I noticed right away with the Super Charlie that John Tune was issuing more preemptively frequency changes just to, get you to move on and telling you to contact Nashville and being able to get Nashville more quickly. Seems like that's been happening. I mean, sometimes even like on, like a crosswind or something, or just right on the way out. And so it's comforting because I don't like to get myself up to, 2,200 or something and just be like, all right, I'm just going to hang out here for a minute and then hope, but I have had definitely flights just before the Super Charlie where, fly out to the south and just like, I guess we're going to go to Muscle Shoals until we can get on with somebody because it's so busy.
Right.
So it's been a lot better if that answers your question. And, I have, I guess, become somewhat of a exemplary poster child for exactly how to do it wrong before. And so maybe we can, Ted, I'd like to play this not only as an homage to our Bag of Words segment, but I also just want to show some real world examples of what the problem was before. And one of these, I think it's the first one, Ted. And by the way, Scott, I don't know what your voice sounds like, right, on the radio. and I know that there's only, I know that there's only actually 7 controller voices total in the world. So I don't know which one yours is, but in this video clip, I don't know if it's you or if you'll probably know who it is, but it'll be hilarious to me if it is you because you are giving me the 3rd degree about where I am flying.
That's not me.
Not gonna be good, no.
And so to give the context for it, basically, this is pre-Super Charlie. To give people context, and our audio podcast listeners will have to just kind of bear with us. But the Super Charlie here, John Toon is over here to the left, the little sort of blue to the left of this airspace, and I was flying north. And basically looking to turn inbound at some point to do a downtown tour, which by the way, guys, you guys are so nice about granting those. And I imagine that every day you're like another downtown tour. But like, how many times has this guy seen downtown? Right. But I was flying north. And so what I was doing is, probably a new pilot thing, but I just thought, well, I'm going to fly runway heading and climb to about 3,000 and get myself to a place, I'm gonna try to call and try to get in and try to make that contact. And I was flying what I believe to be runway heading, and we'll see what happens here. And if hopefully this is the right clip. But
I think I've got the right one here.
Ted, let's go to the clip.
Let's go to it.
VFR calling for flight following.
Archer 2123 Kilo, like a downtown tour. We were 3,500, PA28, just off of John Toon.
Air 2123 Kilo, squawk 0430.
0430, 22 Kilo. We got a plane coming really close.
Kilo, your radar contact 10 miles north of John Toon Airport. Traffic off your right side, less than a mile, 3,400 on final. Not a good idea to fly up the final for the airport. You can turn right, heading 090, maintain VFR. I'll get you towards downtown here in a moment.
Right turn, 23 Kilo.
2123 Kilo, traffic to 1 o'clock and a mile east, northeast about 1,500 indicated. A helicopter, additional traffic off your left side, less than a mile southeast bound, indicating 5,000.
Traffic inside, 23 Kilo.
2123 Kilo, resume on navigation to downtown.
Oh, navigation downtown, 23 Kilo, thanks.
So it's not a good idea to fly through a final, I think, is what we just want to make sure I was clear.
Nobody told me.
It's legal. It's not a good idea.
Was that you?
No.
Gosh.
No.
Shelley, was it you?
But I will say this.
Voice, but not that much.
Maybe you can credit Brian for being the straw that broke the camel's back. You were logging all of these incidences of people flying through this airspace so you could report at the FAA. Maybe that his was the one that just pushed it over the edge.
Yeah.
Same tail number every time.
Well, that plane doesn't exist anymore. It got flipped over in the gradient winds of last March. So I don't. You don't know who I am anymore. You don't know my tail number. But yeah, it's, I mean, like, what are your thoughts on that?
So yeah, what you were doing obviously is not ideal. When we get that a lot, when someone departs John Tune, let's say south, and then they turn right, and they want, even if they're going to stay low and not talk to us, and then they start veering, on the right down towards like a 030 heading, which starts to cut off the funnel, starts to veer towards the northeast, and they think, well, we're out of the Delta, not a big deal, to the northeast of John Tune. However, you got to think, everyone that's coming into John Tune, IFR, or doing a practice approach, we're lining them up on a 10, 12 mile final. So they're descending from 3,000 feet to 2,000 feet from, 10 to 5 miles out. So where you're putting yourself, even though you're north of John Tune, you're north of the Charlie, you're at 3,000 feet, well, you're right there on glide path on the localizer. So yeah, that's not a great idea, but again, that's one of the reasons why we do these things. Before I was a controller and was just a pilot, there was a lot of things that I did, like when I was flying VFR and I was getting vectored all over the sky in Miami, and I'm going, I'm VFR, like, all right, cancel flight following. I'm going on my own. This is BS, right? And I'd cancel, and they say, send me on our own, and all of a sudden I hear them turning airliners all over the place, all around me. And I go, good, right? I don't have to waste any gas. But now I see they're turning these airliners, which is implementing safety risks and hazards into the NAS, which is, I'm the one flying in the airplane, not the controller. So no matter what happens, they're sitting in a seat. You're the ones in the airplane. So while it may seem you're getting turned a little bit further than you want, if it's for safety and it's for your safety, then it's important. So again, one of the reasons why we go around and do talks is just so it's understood. It's not always understood unless you see it firsthand like this.
I think it's important I think it's great that you guys do that, and I think it's important for around the country in the National Airspace System and the NAS that other controllers talk about these situations with their own respective areas. I've been fortunate to tour Atlanta TRACON, and it wasn't until I did that till I really got a clearer picture of what those guys are doing. They've got 4 deltas that they're routing GA traffic around the busiest airport in the world, oftentimes. So I think it's extremely valuable for controllers like you guys to get out to the community and talk to these GA pilots, because if we all had the same understanding, I think if Brian knows now what he didn't know then, he probably would be blasting off to a final approach somewhere.
Right.
Probably. I'm not going to make that. That
was a long time ago. I'm a little bit more experienced in the NAS in general, but hey, somebody had to raise their hand and be the village idiot. So yeah. Do you guys do tours at BNA?
We do, yeah. They're kind of limited just on wind because of our staff, or I'm sorry, our volume.
Your volume issue.
Volume issue that we have. But we do. And, it's also equally important too. I had an issue the other day, or not a situation the other day with an aircraft that was encountering some icing. And the reverse is also important. I'd say, Shelley and I, and then maybe 4 or 5 other controllers there are actually pilots. That's it. So you're dealing with a lot of controllers too that have never flown. If you're getting icing conditions, we go over that stuff in recruit training. However, if you hear it once a year about what a pilot's experiencing and you're doing all these other things, are you really going to remember it in the time versus a pilot that's actually experienced that, knows how to handle that situation? So it's important for us to get your guys' experience and what we could do to help. So if you guys ever have any sort of, Brian, if you ever have some sort of actual serious issue or serious situation like icing, you're encountering icing, and you want to come in and discuss, hey, I really appreciate you guys doing that. Here's what you guys did, or, here's what I was experiencing. I think that's a very valuable thing. And in Atlanta and in Portland, where you guys are at, that's something that, if you have a situation like that, that may be beneficial for the controllers to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I fly out about the 10th busiest Delta approximately, and I toured their tower recently. I've been in the Charlie, but it's the first time going to the Delta, and I said, I thought you didn't like to give flight following. They're like, oh no, we love it. like on the ground. And I was, I must have just had a time in the past that they were too busy to do it or something. And so I've been trying not to do it ever since then, and waiting and calling up the Charlie, trying to get it before I got into their path. And, so it was like things like that where it's just good to actually talk to the people and,
Yeah, absolutely.
Does how does it affect you or change your daily operation? How does John Tune not having a radar affect your life?
Oh man, it's been very impactful. Prior to them opening the tower, a lot of times you could just coax people into canceling and going on their own. And so, you'd have, 5 or 6 IFR inbounds to John Tune, and you could, say, well, you're number 4. And they go, oh, okay, well, we're just going to cancel and go for our own. So they would just be canceling. And so they're like, all right. So it would cut down the amount of sequencing that you had to do exponentially. But then when you talk about their equipment limitations, I mean, they don't have a radar scope. And I know that you said that, as a newer pilot, maybe you don't really fully understand all the implications of that. But one of them is they don't have a FIDO, which is what would print out an inbound strip. So they have no way of knowing who's coming to them. They have no way of knowing what IFR traffic they're getting. So we actually, while you're working the west position, you actually have to call them on the landline. John Tune inbounds, and you have to read them every single IFR inbound that's coming. Oh my gosh. In addition to working all of your live traffic. So you're trying to find a time, and so you hear like I'm on the landline, but it is so true because you do spend such a large amount of time on the landline that, you've also got pilots calling you at that time. And so then we also have to read everybody's clearances. So they're just the middleman. So we read the clearances to the John Tune controllers, and the John Tune controllers read them to the pilots.
Sure. So if you have you call clearance for your flight plan and they take a few minutes, that's because they're trying to get a hold of us to get the flight plan.
Yeah. So as we're working our traffic, we're now then having to also read clearances, to a controller who's then relaying them to you.
What we need to do here is to all of our midlife pilot audience, write your senators and say, we need radar and FIDO at John Tune.
Badly.
It was so weird. Yeah. Like it was noticeable.
That makes no sense.
The first time you're going in there, like, where are you? And
well, and that also too, for efficiency, if they're counting on position reports. So if you call up and you say you're 10 miles to the north, but you're really 10 miles south, they think you're 10 miles north. They have no idea. Also, if you're waiting to take off and they have traffic on a 3 or 5 mile final, you're sitting there and you go, why am I not taking off? Like, this is ridiculous. I haven't seen an aircraft forever. I easily could have got out. Well, at Nashville, we can hit a gap. We can put an aircraft, a jet. If there's a jet on short final, cross the numbers, we can put one in position with another one on a 4 mile final. And that's jets going 120, 105 knots. So a 4 mile gap we can hit for a departure. At John Tune, they may not hit a 4 mile gap with Cessnas doing 60 knots because they can't see where they are.
And it's really difficult to see too. I mean, you can have a citation going, 100 knots on a 3 mile final, and you can hit that gap. You're only going to 100 knots if you've got a headwind or something. You can hit that gap, but if you don't have the radar, you can't rely on the pilots to tell you the speed. They barely know where they are, with their call. And so they're calling on a 3 final, and they might be on a 4.5 or 5 because they're not going to give you pinpoint accuracy like a radar scope 100%. Would, and that's not their fault. That's just they're giving you an approximation of where they think they are, and so it's very difficult to hit those gaps.
For sure, our mileage call-outs are scientific wild-ass guesses. I mean, that's exactly what they are. We do have a quick question in the audience that I wanted to squeeze in real quick. Captain Todd asked, when it fits in the show, what's the ideal order for a flight following a request? I've heard that the order a lot of CFIs teach isn't the order controllers type into the computer.
All right. Brian, what order would you give? I'm curious.
All right, this is great. God, I love it. Okay. Wow. This is the peak moment of this whole 2 years of doing this podcast. I hope I can live up to it. Okay. So my flight following call would be Nashville approach, Cherokee 5116 Lima. I would say with a request, right? Then you say, okay. And then I would say basically requesting flight following to XYZ, 3,500, whatever. Or, no, I'm sorry. I would say, sorry, Cherokee 516 Lima, whatever, 3 miles off of John Tune, VFR flight following to whatever place, altitude, whatever, 3,500. And then last thing, PA48. From what I understand, that's the key thing on the strip is that you guys never hear the beginning part anyway. So. Right.
Yeah, so based off of that, I do remember talking to you, and
you're now on the list.
Yeah,
you're on the list.
Yeah, no. So that's basically it. So we're just looking for call sign, and I appreciate a initial call. You can, some controllers say no, just give me it all at once. But if I'm not ready to listen, I'm not going to hear it. I'm probably not going to hear it this. So I appreciate a request call first. That way I'm listening, and if I'm doing something else, I can get back to you. But yeah, call sign, destination, type aircraft, and altitude is how we put it in. We don't have kilo. If you say kilo, what happens is you go, there are 1, 2, 3, we're departed John Tune going to wherever, Dixon. So, or I don't know, kilo Bravo
Whiskey Golf.
So I start typing in Kilo Bravo Whiskey, you say golf, and I go, okay, backspace, but you're still continuing talking, right? So my brain's going, all right, backspace, Bravo Whiskey Golf, and then I have to go P8. All right, what altitude did you want? So we don't use kilo. You don't have to use that. The center can use that, but they automatically put it in, so it doesn't. You don't need to ever say that.
Yeah, you won't hear the center controllers complaining about kilo. It's always terminal controllers because our equipment capabilities are very different.
Yeah. So that's the order. It doesn't matter so much if you do it in a different order. I wouldn't say you have to change things or really think about it. It's 4 things. Obviously, your call signs first, and then after that, it's destination, type aircraft, altitude. If those last couple things are mixed up, it doesn't matter so much.
What about where you are?
So that's a good thing to say. If you want to say we're 10 miles west, that gives us an idea if you're not, where to look first of all, and if you're not even in our airspace, because there's no sense of getting all that information.
Right. Or we'd hate to be close to another tail number, or something, and get misidentified and then assigned wrongly.
Well, so we don't identify you until we give you the squawk code and we see that squawk code change. So I won't radar identify you until I see your transponder change, and that's how I ensure it's you. I will say too, one of the things that we always say is I get calls to going to DeKalb, Peachtree DeKalb. I always tell people I barely know the identifiers for the airports in my airspace. I certainly don't know the ones outside my airspace.
Right.
So I much rather prefer just the 3-letter identifier for where you're going. Also, you're flying a Spitfire aircraft. I have no clue what that is. Just get the identifier for what it is. Otherwise, we're just going to go back and forth. Again, 3-letter identifier for where you're going, and the identifier for type aircraft is very helpful for me.
Even if you do know it, sometimes you're so busy, you're like, wait a minute, what's it? What is that again? And then you don't have time to really think about it. So
it seems like the counterpoint to that is I hear, students who are struggling on the radio, and they're like, I'm going to Smyrna, KMQY. I know where Smyrna is. You're not going far enough away that this is an unknown. And
it's Smyrna, Ted.
Yeah.
Okay. And we also have Lebanon. It ain't Lebanon.
Yeah.
Lebanon.
A lot of people say Smyrna. A lot.
We also have Lafayette.
Lafayette. I was thinking Hamilton.
Yeah.
So now, do you guys ever? You guys are, since you're both pilots, especially, and you had to learn, right? Just like everybody else at some point. I'm curious whether you have like a soft spot when you hear student pilots or people that are struggling that are clearly new at it, or do you just get irritated?
No, not at all. I get irritated when I hear controllers not helping those pilots out. Again, a little bit of empathy for them too. They're not pilots. Some of those controllers aren't pilots, and they don't know what it's like. So getting frustrated as teachers, getting frustrated with your student does no good. It's not going to do me any good. It's not going to do her any good. I have tried to teach her when she was going through instrument training, and that did not go.
She's not agreeing.
Yeah. So we know how that is to get frustrated. It's not going to help anyone. So we're very, very nurturing towards them and helping them out, because the last thing you want is to yell at them and then it create a safety issue and be even worse. So.
Yeah. And the other thing that I really like is when people put check ride in the remarks section, because when I'm in the tower, if I'm working ground, I will always ask, or even if I'm on local, I'll say, did they pass? How they do? Put them on the spot. And you can hear sometimes the examiner will key up and say something.
Oh yeah. And the vectors,
it's so fun.
The vectors that I give I am babying them onto.
That is so cool.
That on a check ride will be a lot more, well, at least we will be a lot more forgiving with things. So just kinder.
That's good to know for the IFR check ride, especially.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if my DP is going to allow me to file a flight plan for my commercial, but if I do, I'm definitely going to put that in there. So thanks for that.
Well, send me a message. We'll get a hold of someone in Atlanta and let them know.
Thank you.
Well, so I know you guys have to go fairly soon, but one thing I wanted to ask is, since you both are pilots and controllers and obviously married, do you issue brasher warnings to each other?
She has my number.
Do you issue brasher warnings to your kids? I have a number for you to copy.
Maybe we should start doing that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Very cool.
So what advice would you have, or actually let me back up and put it this way. If you could impart one thing to a lot of pilots that are like us, that use the system and we do the best we can and all that, if you had sort of like a key piece of advice, what would it be for people that are maybe perhaps newer pilots or student pilots?
Mine would just be to understand that the frustration maybe that you hear, it's hard not to let that discourage you. But the frustration that you hear is not necessarily towards you or personal. Obviously, it's that controller's way of handling a stressful situation. Obviously, our main goal is to make sure that everyone's safe. If I have to repeat something to you 4 times, well, 4 other aircraft are getting close to each other. It's nothing personal. It's a stressful situation. That may be how I handle stress. So not taking it personal, not getting discouraged. And if you need a controller to do something for you, like slow down or say something again, that's a lot better than just saying, I don't want to ask them again.
Yeah. Or misinterpret something.
Yeah, and it goes a lot, as you can expect. It turns into a lot worse situation. I think, that we definitely don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm going to be selfish since I have you here. Also, if I'm on a 10-mile final into 02 at John Toon, and I'm on with BNA, and I say I've got John Toon in sight, I'm 10 miles out, but I'm at 3,000 feet, so I'm still in the Charlie.
Yeah.
And you guys let me go.
Yeah.
To go ahead and call Toon. I'm in your airspace, but you're not talking to me anymore. Is it just because we've previously established 2-way radio contact, or does that expire? Or is it just an expectation that I'm going to be getting down below 2,400 sooner than later? Or what's the thought on that?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and we've covered that in that it's previously, and it's a good question because it's kind of a gray area and definitely open to some misunderstanding. If we put you in a situation, we expect you to be able to reasonably maneuver the aircraft. So if we put you, let's say, 5 miles from the Charlie at, 4,000 feet, we don't expect you to nosedive it and do a 90-degree turn in order to avoid it. If you're in the Charlie, we expect you, and we terminate your radar, we expect you to most expeditiously exit the Charlie. We don't expect you to immediately be out of it by magic, but most expeditiously. So if you're orbiting downtown, and you say you're going back to John Tune, we say radar service terminated, contact Tune Tower. We don't expect you to then climb up to 3,500 feet, go towards Nashville, do a little circle over Opryland, and then go back into John Tune. So that being said, if you're 20 miles out of John Tune to the north, and you're at 3,000 feet or 30 miles out, you have some reasonable. You can reasonably, or you can maneuver the aircraft reasonably to avoid a Class Charlie, and we expect you to do that. So it is an expectation. It has to do with basically just common sense. We don't expect you to nosedive the aircraft if you've been talking to us. However, if you are terminated far enough away, and let's say you're doing some maneuvers, you don't then just have a free pass all day to go through the Class Charlie because you were talking to. We had that situation actually a couple days ago, and I was involved in it, working an aircraft that was coming from the east side, going over to John Tune, and about 15 miles north, he was terminated. He's going into John Tune, clips the Class Charlie. The West controller didn't know East controller was talking to him. So we called, we issued a Brasha to him on the ground. Well, come to find out, he was talking to us. So that's nothing he did wrong at all. And there's no issue with him. It'll all go away. And that's all recorded. And that's what the reviews are there for, the review of the tape. So when you get a Brasha, we'll review everything. It's not this immediate pilot deviation. That's why we say possible, is because then we go and review it. And if we find that it was our fault, then, nothing happens.
Wow. So I've probably almost gotten a couple, but I never intended to, but that helps a lot. Thank you. I know do you guys need to go now? You have a...
No, we're good for a little bit.
We got a few more minutes.
We do have one question from our chat room. It brings it up. Juliet Echo Foxtrot, controllers can be bad. Sorry, I just lost my entire computer. How does both of you being controllers affect your lifestyle like that?
We work a lot of opposite schedules. We've got 2 little kids, and so we kind of try to sacrifice seeing each other for one of us to kind of be there with the kids as much as humanly possible. Sometimes not seeing your spouse all the time isn't the worst thing in the world.
I can assure you my wife would agree with you.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
We do work with each other a couple days a week, but
Nice.
It's definitely nice to have a little bit of space too. But it is challenging at times. It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, it's a difficult schedule. So our schedule, you guys may know, but our schedule is a reverse rotator, and we're mostly on 6-day work week. So every other week I work a 6-day work week overtime because of our volume issue. So we start at a night shift. My Monday is a night shift, a 2 to 10. Then I go to a noon, and then I go to a 6 a.m. and then I go to a 7 a.m. and then I go to a 5:30, and then I come back after I get off at 1:30 and come and work the midnight shift until 6 a.m. So it's crazy. You get everything done in about 4 days, 5 days of work, and then you come back for your overtime day. So it's a lot, and it's kind of sleep depriving. But the benefit is, I'm not sure. What is the benefit?
The benefit is, I don't know.
You love what you do.
You do kind of get, if you work that overnight shift, you kind of get a little bit of an extra day off. But although you're sleeping for a portion of it, it's obviously not as busy at night. So it is kind of like a little bit of a break, and then kind of lead into your Friday, kind of a longer-ish feeling weekend, even though you've worked, the full 40 plus hours that week.
Right.
Well, you guys
awesome.
Have been, and we haven't even gotten into, let's have you back on or something. Cause it's like, you guys are like novels, we haven't even gotten into the real estate.
Yeah, we did real estate.
and all this. We thought about trying to crowdfund the last estate you advertised, the $1.9 million.
I'm happy to say, as of 2 hours ago, that is under contract. So,
congratulations to you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I did notice one of the comments I was reading. Someone had commented about Alyssa commented about being sent right over top of Nashville, going to John Tune. That is something that I feel like when we go and talk, people didn't know before or hadn't thought about is. Navigating all the way around the Class Charlie, especially it being expanded now, seems ridiculous if you're going east to west or west to east. A good spot for us as controllers, obviously you have to be talking to us, but a good spot is right over top of the airport at 3,500 because there's not going to be anyone there, or shouldn't be.
Right.
Even in a go-around situation, there shouldn't be anyone there. So
we have that in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They put us right over the top of Hartsfield at 4,500 feet.
Yeah, it's a great spot. So if you give us a call, and a lot of times if you ask for that, we know that the drill.
Exactly.
And a lot of times we'll just do that. If you call us, a little bit southeast, and we get the choice to make a split decision on, are we going to vector them around or are we going to send them over the top? You're going to get what we want. If you just say, I want to go over the top, 99% of the time, you'll probably get that.
It's so in Atlanta, there's the Bravo, it's very big, and it adds, the town that I grew up in should be a 30 minute flight, and it adds about 30 minutes to it, almost doubles the flight having to go around. And you're exactly right. They do it exactly the same way. Hey, want clearance in the Bravo, I'd like to go over the top. And they'll say, climb to 4,500, and I need you to turn to a 180 heading. And they'll vector you around a little bit, but it's the best place to be, and everybody wins in this situation.
Yeah. It's great with a passenger because you get to put them over this big airport, and it seems so exotic, and it's like, well, it's where they want me anyway.
It's also nice to have a anytime you can fly over a giant airport that has lots of emergency facilities, like when you're thinking about best place to land, it's like, this is great. I wish the whole world were just lined with airports like that. But yeah, so that's super. I've definitely started to, when I'm coming from the east, I'll just go ahead and line myself up to do that anyway, and that seems to kind of predetermine that they'll just let me. You will let me keep going. So that's really that's awesome. Well, look, we don't want to take all your time. We do want to take all your time, but we can't take all your time. We did have some more things to talk about. Maybe we can have you back sometime in your copious spare time. But no, it means a lot to have you guys, like I said, reaching out, advocating, helping people out in the community. And the only thing, my final words here are just going to be that, my tail number is Cherokee 5116 Lima, but hey, half the time it's my partner flying the plane. So if anything's going, a little wacky, it's probably not me. If they're doing exactly the right thing, it's probably me. No, but do you guys remember tails? Do you remember tail numbers? You have them like in your head, like like the training planes at John Tune or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we do, and obviously we're friends with quite a few pilots, and I'll recognize the call sign. I'll think, who is that? But yeah, no, I remember quite a few, and I'll talk to you if I can remember it. And if you ever get in a bad situation, just tell them that I said it was okay, and it won't help. It won't help.
It might make it worse. I wouldn't do that.
Right. Like, there's just gonna be like a name for it, like the Weckler Pass or something. Like well, thank you guys so much. Do we, Ben? You want to do our little quick housekeeping thing? I guess
that'd be great. And I want to offer my thanks as well. It was very nice to meet you both. We'll have your info in our show notes, how to get in touch with you for the real estate. I've got 4 years to go and I can retire from my job. So there's going to be a really good chance I might be calling on y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much to my wife's dismay. So yeah, we want to,
but thanks. We'll say goodbye now and thanks for joining us. Yeah.
And I'll leave it with, Brian, I know you had asked about doing this more routinely, and we, like I said, our schedule is pretty crazy. But anytime that we can link up, and you guys have some questions, we'd love to do it. So
yeah, happy to be here.
I really appreciate you guys so much. It's an absolute pleasure. I mean, I feel automatically like I'm a better pilot already, just because I've learned a lot of things, and I feel like if I screw up, I've got somebody I can call to help me out. So no, but I really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you very much. You guys can go ahead and disconnect and carry on with your lives. And we're going to sit here and figure out how to spend money instead of make money.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you.
See you guys.
thanks.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for getting those guys. They were awesome, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that if that's something we could do almost like on a near monthly basis, it would be so helpful.
Cool if we get controllers from all over the country and learn about their different challenges.
Well,
from
I think we can pick their brains for another once a month for a year straight and still have questions for them.
Yeah, and I feel bad in the sense that everybody, like, it's such a unique point of view to be in this particular airspace and the unique challenges of this airspace, but I hope that people got something out of it that is more universal. But if anything, they're people too, and they're customer service oriented, and they want us to win, they want us to succeed, and they want us to stay the hell away from other airplanes. So which is what we also want. So that worked out great. Yeah.
Well, we wanted to let our audience know we broadcast live on YouTube, usually every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, and what's that, 5 Pacific. You can find us at youtube.com/@midlifepilotpodcast.com. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's it. youtube.com/@midlifepilotpodcast. Live chat is always open. We love the feedback you give us. The audio only version of this podcast is at iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And people can support us, right? 25 cents an episode.
I'm getting there. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Support us through Spotify, 99 cents a month, 25 cents an episode. I mean, that's the best deal going. Your support helps us at least try to get our heads above water. Maybe purchase a little bit of equipment. We also
get Ted out from being under the submarine that he's in.
My audio my video is so messed up. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So new cameras, new mics. We love getting feedback. We love your suggestions. We've gotten a suggestion from Carl S. in the inbox, which is at midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com. Ted, if you could throw that up there. Carl suggested, we're going to probably implement this next week as a kind of a flight following, or where are they now? We're going to interview somebody in our that's following us, see where they are today, and then maybe check back in with them for 6 months.
So that was a suggestion from a listener.
Yeah.
To say, we would like you to keep, like, sort of bring somebody in, get where they are now and what their challenges are and what they've managed to get done, and maybe what they need to get done or how they're doing. And then we can choose maybe some interval, 6 months or whatever. And then we're going to bring them back on and kind of just check with them. So we can kind of follow along with people that are perhaps in similar tracks or I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I do too. Thanks, Carl S. There's one more bit of feedback that I wanted to touch on and wanted to talk about our Discord server. Taylor N. sent us some feedback. Hello, big fan of the podcast. I'm a fairly regular listener, more frequently as of recent. I'm 37 years old, toward the end of my PPL, currently at 45 hours, trying to balance taking lessons while raising a family. I enjoy the discussion you guys have. It's truly helped me. On the last episode, you guys talked about your binder and how much value you got from it, but that wasn't sure what you were talking about. Would you mind sharing? Well, we put a call out to the people in the Discord, and they stepped up mightily, and Taylor joined our Discord server, and he had all the information he could possibly want, and probably more some. So binders are important. I've got one right behind me for the commercial.
Yeah, I didn't even know about it.
Email us at midlifepilotpodcast gmail.com and say, I want to be part of the Discord, and we will send you an invite and you can join one of the greatest communities that I know of. What do you think?
That sounds great.
Yeah, I think it gets better and better all the time. And it's now that we've started doing these once a week, things have kind of accelerated, and it's been really cool to see.
Yeah.
And you guys have been great stepping up for the great Chris Moran.
Miss him.
And I mean, he's not dead. We don't have to pour one out for him or anything.
No, we need to bring him back on soon.
Yeah.
Good to see Flying Midwest podcast in the chat. Hey, I've been listening to you guys. Y'all are killing it over there too. Want to give a quick shout out to them.
And we have a huge announcement, by the way. And we didn't even really build this up, but we are up against the wall on time a little bit. So maybe we can make this announcement. And I think Ted, you press the button and you say the thing.
I'm confused what this announcement is, though.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
You're the one that built the whole thing.
What is the greatest thing that has happened in the last week and a half?
My spouse flew in the plane for the first time.
Oh,
see?
That's amazing.
It's hard to guess what it is. We went on just slightly more than a pattern, and she's like, "Get me out of here," and she's looking forward to going again. So we'll talk more about that.
We'll talk about that next week.
Next week's Hangout show.
What Brian and I are talking about is.
Yep.
Why don't you tell our group about what that is?
Ted's taking his clothes off.
I'm taking my clothes off.
The audio people need to understand that this has gotten scary.
Be thankful.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I have the fancy polo shirt. We've
opened a merch store. Is our announcement.
And people are getting merchandise like crazy this week. I've seen, there's some T-shirts out there. I got a mug in many pieces. There's lots of stickers out there, and I got this polo shirt. Sizes seem to be a little large, so let us know what you feel when you
have you washed it yet?
I did. I washed it on super hot and dried it super hot, hoping that would shrink.
Oh,
and it's still like a size big. So I'm just saying, it's fine.
The hats are the most comfortable hats I own. I love my hat. I'm going to go buy a different one with a different color scheme. So store.midlifepilotpodcast.com. It'll be in the doobly-doos or the show notes, whichever you prefer. We've got a lot of great things in there: T-shirts, hats, glasses, stickers, mugs. It's Brian, you and Ted did a really good job putting that thing together.
Buttons for your jean jacket that I used to have in the closet from 1984. That's right. And Ted, the shirt you're wearing, the polo shirt, it's got like an embroidery kind of thing on it, right? Like it's not just some.
Yeah, it's legit embroidered, which is pretty amazing. It also has it on the sleeve. So
oh, that's cool.
I thought it was pretty cool. I like wearing like kind of little button-up shirts, and so it was.
We got to get you one that the two people can't fit in. So what size is that?
This is a large, which is what I normally wear. I'll order medium, and I'll see how it compares. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're made in Madagascar, apparently. So
that's what they're known for: embroidered
polo shirts. Yeah.
Even back to. Yeah. So it's not just merchandise, right? We actually, for the first time, have a legit logo design. And so that's part of all of that. We've been kind of just trying to button up this thing a little bit and do a lot of the things. And so it's a big step, and it's been really cool to see people go in and get the shirts and get the things and to see how people are sending us pictures in the Discord of in various states of disarray. Thanks, Josh. Josh sent us one from like the gym or something. But thanks for sending the pictures.
Chris C's hat too, didn't we?
Yeah, that was. Yeah. I'm going to order that one as well. So
eventually, we can make all those like weird photos that people send. We can make those the product display photos. Oh, that'd be great.
Nice. Very good. Anything else, gentlemen, for the good of the order?
Well, so next week we're going to have a catch up with the host. I've got lots of things I want to ask Brian about. I know that Ben's got a lot going on, and I've got a couple things like that tower tour I did that are kind of interesting. So I think that's what we're going to talk about next week. And what else?
So it'd be kind of quiet, right? We've been having a lot of people on.
Yeah. Only 3 people.
Yeah, it'll kind of be nice.
I noticed in some of the Spotify analytics that it seems like we get a really positive reaction to the Cross Country 101, the kind of the educational stuff that we've done in the past. So we might want to think about putting that back in there a little bit.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I guess the problem is that we're not instructors, so it's a fine line we have to walk, right? We can offer you the conventional wisdoms that we've maybe picked up, but they are not empirical or sanctioned. But yeah.
And Biff mentioned in the chat, Ben approved the low wing logo. It was more or less of I didn't want to confront my partners on this than having to go with a high wing, and maybe one day I'll end up in a low wing. Who knows?
Well, from a design standpoint, can I just say that so you've got the text part of the logo, and then there's the plain part of the logo. If the plain, for whatever reason, would have been at the bottom of where the text is, then it would have been better from a design standpoint, probably to have a high wing. It's just about the way it kind of sits in the text a little bit.
I agree. I liked it. I gave it my blessing.
And to be clear, 2/3 of our hosts fly high wings. So it doesn't matter. It's like,
hey, I fly a high wing when I can. I rent one.
There you go.
All
right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we call it a night? Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for the time tonight. Thanks to everybody in the live audience and your involvement. We appreciate you. Again, like, subscribe, email us. Come buy some of our merchandise, please. Leave us a review. What else am I forgetting, Brian? I think that's it.
I was just going to say, if anybody didn't listen to the podcast last week, it was really an excellent one with Aviation 101, Josh Flowers. And I think it'd be great for people to go check that out if you haven't.
Absolutely. Well, signing off, episode 48. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks.